Hi, Tess. So I thought it might be useful if I created a couple of videos for you as we think about creating a chemistry module that uses Python. So in this first video, I'm just going to walk you through some Python basics. Um, I hope it's not too overwhelming. I'm happy to go through this in a lot more detail. We can schedule some check-in time. There's obviously a ton of Python resources available. And I'm also happy to, pitch in with obviously the coding aspect of this module. But I did just want you to maybe start to feel comfortable with a little bit of basic Python, especially because you mentioned it's something you had maybe been wanting to learn anyway. So hopefully this is a good opportunity for that. So students will be coding in something called REPL, which is basically a website that allows you to write code and then see the output of your code. So this prevents students from having to download a fancy Python compiler to their computers, which our students can't do because they have Chromebooks. So this is how a lot of students are coding these days at Uncommon and elsewhere. So once you create a REPL account, which you'll do by going to replit.com and creating an account, you'll be able to start new projects in any language you want, and you should choose Python because that's the language we'll be coding in. And I will share these projects with you as well, so you'll have them. But I would also recommend obviously testing them out on your own, trying to type in code and seeing what you get. So the first thing I want to show you in Python is, well, actually, let me back up. So let me talk to you a little bit about REPL. So this area over here is called the code editor. Right now I have a bunch of green text in there, and you'll see it all starts with a # or hashtag. That means it's a comment. It's just kind of a narrative that I'm writing for myself or for you, or someone who's looking at the code. It's not actually code that's going to get compiled. But the code editor is where you would write your code, and then the console is where you see the output of that code. So let me just show you. Let's write a simple Python command, print hi, Tess. You'll see I put hi, Tess in quotation marks inside of parentheses. Press run. And over here on the console, you see the output of hi, Tess. You can also type in lines of Python code right in the console. So if I typed out print hello again, quotation, parenthesis, I see the output of hello again. The difference is that when you type code into the console, it doesn't save. When I type code into my code editor, it becomes part of that Replit project, so it gets saved. Okay, so that's printing. Anytime you want to display information, you're going to print. So in coding, we store information that we're going to want to use or we want our program to remember in variables. Okay, so let's make a simple variable called age, and I'll set it equal to 37. And then I can do things with the variable. So one simple thing I can do is print out age. You'll see because age is a variable and Python knows what it is, I don't put age in quotation marks. Okay, it's not a string, meaning text we want to get printed out literally. It's actually a variable that stores a value. So let's run our program. And we see hi, Tess from our first print statement. And then we see that the age of 37 got printed out. Okay. So once you have a variable, you can do lots of things with it. One thing you can do is change it or update it. So maybe I had a birthday and now my age is 38. And now I'm going to print out my age again. And we'll see that first 37 gets printed out from line 6, and then 38 gets printed out from line 8. Okay, so a variable can only store one thing at a time. Once age gets set to be 38, now age is 38, 37 is gone, okay? Okay, so something that I think we'll probably be doing in our code and kind of having students do is something called loops or iteration, which is in coding a way of doing something over and over. You might be familiar with this from engineering if you've done any kind of coding over there. But every language has loops. They're pretty simple in Python, so simple that I forgot the exact syntax. So I'm just going to look up Python for loops, which is another great lesson when you're coding. There is lots of resources out there. Shouldn't be scared to use them, right? We don't have to memorize everything. We don't want students to feel like they have to memorize everything either. So I'm just looking for